Alright, Karina, baby, look. A year full of stories. Today is the 26th of April. That makes you 5 years and 16 days old. Can you believe it? I can't believe it. Barnard the Bulldozer. Barnard the Bulldozer was one of the strongest machines around. His mighty engine was very powerful. He could push rocks and earth away with the huge blade on his front and inside of wheels. Barnard has 2 steel crawl tracks. He could move over the muddiest ground without ever getting stuck. One April morning, Barnard and his driver, Bob, was cleaning the way for a new road. Barnard had just scooped up a mound of earth when Bob saw something moving in it. "What have we got here, Barnard?" said Bob, peering through the cab window. It was a frog. Bob looked more closely and saw another frog scraping over the soil. And another. He was sure the whole family of frogs he had been caught up in the load. "We must take these frogs to safety," Barnard said. Bob looked around until he spotted a pond. It was far away from where the new road was to be built. So Bob worked the controls and Barnard crawled up the muddy fields. He carefully pushed that huge mound of earth towards the pond with the frogs sitting on top. When they were near the bank, Bob said, "That's far enough." Barnard stopped and the frogs hopped off to find a new home. "And now, Barnard," said Bob, "we must get back to work on that new road." Look at that. He saved the frogs. He did such a good job. Barnard and Bob save the frogs. Oh. Alright. Look at this one, baby. I am positive. I am positive. Scholastic. Mama loves Scholastic books. "I can make today the best day ever by the things that I say and the things that I do." And Mama used to say, "What's today, baby?" "The best day ever." And you'd say, "Why, Mama?" And I'd say, "Because you're in it, baby. You make every day the best day ever, Karina." "Today I will wake up and say hello to the sun. Today I will hum my favorite song as I wash up. Today I will give my papa an extra kiss to show that I love him. I can make today the best day ever by the things that I say and the things that I do." That's right. "Today I will share my smile with my classmates. Today I will feel proud when I read a book on my own." Reading the book. Doing a good job. "To my favorite aunt," it says. See the photo in the picture? "To my favorite aunt. Today I will draw a happy picture for someone I love. I can make today the best day ever. The things that I say and the things that I do. For my favorite teacher." Look at this. 12 times 4 equals 48. Today I will do something I couldn't do yesterday. Look at the math problem he's doing. He's doing so well. Today I will raise my hand in class to answer a question. Good job, class. Today I will give myself a pat on the back for the job well done. I can make today the best day ever by the things that I say and the things that I do. For my papa. What will you do to make this day the best day ever? Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, ooh, indigo, and violet too. He has a rainbow, baby. Ever had a sign a rainbow? Rainbow. The big itch. Remember Clifford? The big itch. Look at that doggy. One day, Clifford had a big itch. He scratched it against everything. He scratched it against an apple tree. Clifford, said Samuel and Mrs. Lee. He scratched it against the spotlight. Clifford, said the bus driver. Oh, look at the bus driver. He scratched it against Mr. Carson's truck. Clifford said to Mr. Carson. Clifford, said Mr. Carson. At home, Clifford scratched and scratched and scratched and scratched. If he kept scratching, said Emily Elizabeth's dad, Papa, he will have to go to the vet. The vet, thought Clifford. Clifford had never been to the new vet before. Oh no, he has a new vet. See the papa and the baby? Clifford ran to the beach and told his friends. Trust me, said Cleo, you do not want to go to the vet. What should I do? Asked Clifford. Stop scratching, said Cleo. No scratching, no vet. Oh, he has to stop scratching. He's so itchy. What is he gonna do? At the library, Clifford tried not to scratch, but he was so itchy. He rolled over and over. Mr. Lee looked out the window. Wow, she said. Oh, Miss Lee looked out the window. Wow, she said. Clifford sure has a big itch. Look at, she's worried. That's your puppy. Clifford, cried Emily. Are you scratching again? Clifford pretended to play. So did Leo and T-Bone, you were just playing, Emily Elizabeth asked. Woof, they barked together. Look at, they're all pretending to itch now. Emily Elizabeth had lunch at Samuel's, fish and chips. How is Clifford's itch? Asked Samuel. I haven't seen him scratch all day, said Emily Elizabeth. They looked out at Clifford. He looked happy. Oh no, what's gonna happen? And he was happy. Cleo and T-Bone were scratching his back. It feels so good, said Clifford. But soon Cleo and T-Bone got so tired of scratching. Clifford's big itch got bigger and bigger. See, the doggies on the top. His friends are trying to help. Clifford ran down to the beach. He jumped into the water. He rubbed his back on the ferry dock. Look at all the waves he's creating. You see the boats? See Clifford? He's so big. Clifford, cried Emily Elizabeth. Clifford looked up. It's time to go to the vet, she said. It's time to go to the vet. Dr. Denham will take care of you. Clifford whined. It will be okay, said Emily Elizabeth. You'll see. The whole family drove to the vet. You must be Clifford, says Dr. Dime. She checked his back. I have some cream that will fix that bug bite, said Dr. Dunham. Poor Clifford, he's all alone at the vet's office, said Cleo. He's not alone, said T-Bone. Emily Elizabeth is with him, and she would never let anyone hurt him. That's right. Dr. Denham spread the cream on Clifford's back. Clifford felt all better. He howled with joy. Oh, see? Look at that. They brought in a big truck, cement truck, to put it on his back. Everyone cheered for Clifford. Clifford wagged his tail. He gave Dr. Dunham a big kiss. Oh my, she said. I think you've made a friend for life, Emily Elizabeth said. Dr. Dunham took good care of you, said Emily Elizabeth, and I will always take good care of you, because you are Clifford, my big red dog. Do you remember? Circle the right answers. Where was Clifford's itch? On his back. At the beach, what did Clifford scratch against? Do you remember what he scratched against? Was it the ferry dock? Was it the rowboat? Or was it the beach chair? It was a ferry dock. What happened first? What happened next? What happened last? Write a 1, 2, 3 in the space after each sentence. Clifford scratched against Mrs. Carson's truck. Clifford went to the library with Emily. Clifford scratched against the apple tree. Is it apple tree, and then the truck, and then Emily with the library? The answers is Clifford scratched against the truck is 2, the apple tree is 1, the truck is 2, and then Emily with the library is 3. So, there you go. Biscuit, stay at the farm. Biscuit, stay at the farm. Look at that. There's a little piggy and a doggy. Look at it. Says I can read on the top of it, baby. I know you can read. You've been reading for a long time. Look at the farm. There's Biscuit, stay at the farm. Come along, Biscuit. We're going to help on the farm today. Woof, woof. We can feed the hens, Biscuit. Look at all the good stuff she's feeding the hens. The bread and the apple cores and the corn. Those hens are getting some good food. Woof, woof. We can feed the pigs today, too. The pig pen is empty, Biscuit. Where can the pigs be? Do you see where the pigs might have gone? I see a tail, and I see a piggy. We're outside. Look at the farmer. He's working on things. Woof, woof. Funny puppy. You can find the pig and the piglets, too. Woof, woof. Look at the pigs are nursing, and the pigs are running around playing. And they're getting some water and some hay. They're doing so good. Let's feed the goats, Biscuit. Woof, woof. Look at the goats eating, baby. How many goats are there? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 goats and 1 pig. Oink. Oh, Biscuit, the piglet is out of the pen. See the nice farmer lady? We must put the piglet back. Woof, woof. Let's feed the sheep, Biscuit. Woof, woof. Oink. Oh no, Biscuit. It's the piglet. Look at that. The piglet's following Biscuit around. We must put the piglet back once more. One more time. Woof, woof goes Biscuit. Look at her pick up the piglet. She's going to go put it back. Here are the geese, Biscuit. Look at those geese. Woof, woof. Oink. Here is the piglet again. Oh, look at the piglet. He's just following them around. Woof, woof. Oink, oink, honk. Look at the geese are going honk, honk, honk. Wait, Biscuit. The geese are just saying hello. Woof, as they run away. Both of them run away from the geese. Silly puppy, the piglet is back in the pen. And so are you, Biscuit. Oink! Woof woof! There's the farm. Timothy and the Night Noises. Timothy. Woo. It was late, so Martin and Timothy had to go to bed. Baby, do you know how many hours you get in one day of a week time? Because usually people wake up by themselves around 10 and go to bed around 9. That's only 10 hours a day. That's it. Martin put on his pajamas and hopped into bed. Timothy had a little trouble. Look at that, he had a little bit of trouble. He's working on it. There you go, said Mama. Martin. Mama tucked them in and kissed them goodnight. I'm scared, said Timothy. Can you leave the light on? There's Timothy's bed. Oh, he got scared. You are a big frog now, said Mama, and there is nothing to be afraid of. Besides, your big brother Martin is here. Martin just sighed and rolled over. Mama turned off the light and left the room. Martin and Timothy's room. They share a room together. Martin Timothy asked, Will you really protect me? Don't be frightened, Martin said. Go to sleep. Timothy scrunched down under the covers, but then he heard a noise. Woo! He got his teddy bear with him to protect him, and his blanket. Martin yelled, Timothy, help me, help me. Mama ran into the room. I heard a ghost, said Timothy. That is the only wind outside, said Mama. Martin just rolled his eyes. He got scared, though. His fears are legitimate. That's okay. Mama tucked Timothy back into bed. I'll sit with you for a while, she said. Now try to go to sleep. Timothy closed his eyes. What is she reading him? The Three Pigs. Creak, creak, creak. But then he heard a noise. Creak, creak, creak. Oh, he hears something. Timothy jumped into Mama's lap. What's that? He yelled. It's only the sound of this chair, Mama said. Timothy rocked the chair himself just to be sure. Then he climbed back into bed. Creak. But as Timothy closed his eyes, he saw something moving on the wall. Mama, he said, it's a monster. No, said Mama, that's only the shadow of the tree outside. There is nothing to be afraid of. Timothy felt better. Mama tucked him back into bed, and she left the room. Martin looked at Timothy. You're such a baby, he said. I am not, said Timothy. Martin just made a face, and he rolled over in bed. That wasn't very nice of Martin, huh? But then he felt something tap him on the shoulder. Oh no, Martin felt a tap. Martin. Boo. Martin got scared now. Do you think it was Timothy trying to scare him? Ah, yelled Martin, a ghost. Martin jumped out of bed and ran out of the room. What do you think they are, alligators? There's a dinosaur up in his room. I don't know, maybe they might be frogs. So he returned with Mama. See, she said, there is no ghost. Mama tucked Martin and kissed Martin on the head. Then she looked at Timothy. But he was fast asleep. Oh, Timothy did play a trick on Martin, huh? Look at that, with his bed spread over his head. Oh, baby. Mama loves you and misses you. You know that? let's see, the Corgiville Fair. Let's see if any of the other words are that hard. Corgiville Fair. Look at the town. They did such beautiful artwork on this book. Let's see. West of New Hampshire and the east of Vermont is a village. Its name is Corgiville. It has a church, an inn, and a post office, a general store, and a Civil War statue. It is inhabited by corgis, cats, rabbits, and bogats. You know about cats and rabbits, but you may not be familiar with a corgis and a bogarats. Corgis are small dogs. Corgis are small dogs colored of foxes. They have short legs and tails. Bogarats are trolls. I believe they come from Sweden, but I'm not sure. The bogarats that live in Corgiville are olive green colored with spots, and their hair is moss, and their ears are leather, and their arms come off for convenience when they go down into holes. They have long tails and smoke cigars, are apt to the wild. Okay, so I guess this is the corgi, this is the rabbit, this is the made-up creature, and this is the cat. This story is about one of the Corgiville's leading families, the Big Bye Browns, and about the Corgiville's fair, which next to Christmas is the most exciting event of the year. The Browns live on a farm outside the village. There's Mr. and Mrs. Brown and the puppies, Caleb, Cora, and Kathy. Mr. Brown raises racing goats. Corgis are goats instead of horses. The fair day that is rivalry between the Browns and the Tomcat family, who come from the outside of town. The Browns is the first select man of the road agent. Mr. Brown is a good mother. Well, Mrs. Brown is a good mother and sees that all the other homes that Mr. Brown slippers and the pipe are proper places where he comes in at night. Caleb, Cora, and Kathy go to school in winter. In summer, they spend their time, as everyone else does in Collegeville, getting ready for the fair. One summer, the summer this story is about, Cora was raising grounds to display at the fair. Kathy was domestic and making a complete layout for the rug puppies. Caleb was the busiest of all, for besides helping at the fair with the farm, he was training his goat, Josephine, for the grand race. The first prize was to be a $100 silver and an enormous cup. So you can see there would be a lot of competition. Josephine was a spirited goat with a mind of her own and a victorious appetite for things that shouldn't be eaten, such as cigars, pillowcases, and flower beds. In fact, greed was her greatest fault. Every good day Caleb worked with Josephine. He groomed her and he polished her horns and hooves, and each Saturday he drove Josephine to Merritt Begot's place, the bogs on the marsh. Merritt was the brothers of the fireworks factory. They also put on the Darndale show with the old cars for the fair. Merritt had a way with the goats, just as gypsies do with horses. He was always ready to help Caleb with Josephine. He wanted Caleb to win the grand race. He especially wanted to see him win the prize instead of Edgar Tomcat. Oh, look at it, there's explosives in there. So there he is with the goat. The artwork in here is beautiful. Edgar Tomcat was not popular in town. He was giving and wearing loud pattern waistcoats and the top singing noises of the moonlit night. This disturbed him more. Respectable citizens of Corgiville, especially the River End Bonnie Barktundley, who had hinted about those merits in some of his sermons, but without effect. The reason Merritt felt as he did about Edgar was because of an incident that he had occurred in town meetings last March. Edgar had tied Merritt's tail to a chair during a heated argument over the school board. Nothing much had been said at the moment, but Merritt was biding his time. Edgar Tomcat was beginning to have regrets, especially since he had heard of Caleb's Saturday visit with the Bugs. The summer wore away, as it does in Corgiville, with a pleasant round of happenings. September came with the smell of grapes along with the riverside at the touch of the forest in the air. It is nearly time for the fair. The village hummed with activities. Last torches were put on prize quilts and placed for the preserves and the jellies, and selected for the summer's labors. The largest and most perfect vegetables were carefully harvested. The ladies of Corgiville Congregational Church put on a splendid supper and had made a meeting to complete plans for their float at the fair. Each day the new sound of hammers came to be heard as boots were put up and the grandstand strengthened. Merritt's fireworks factories were going full blast. Everyone in Corgiville was doing something for the fair. Caleb felt the keen excitement and was confident about Josephine and the potential for speed. He spent more time than ever her appearance and her diet. He watched her wait like a teenager. Josephine was in perfect condition, but she was hungry. Mr. Brown commended Caleb for his preservations. Mr. Brown thought anxious and motherly thoughts about her son and the race. No, the poor goat is hungry though. I wonder if that really happens. Merritt Boggs suggested that Caleb put a padlock on Josephine's stable door at night. He said he didn't like the lay of the land over the Eggers. You never know what might happen, he cautioned, especially at the fair. Don't leave her unguarded, not even for a moment. Meantime, on the other side of the town, Edgar Tomcat was busy with his billy goats, Red Pepper, and he bragged all over Collegeville that the Red Pepper's supreme qualities. Oh, look at this is a dog up here and a cat down here. Tomcat is a cat. The corgi's a puppy. Oh boy. Mrs. Rabbit, Mrs. Horto Rabbit said that she had heard that someone else had heard from a friend's cousin's sister that Edgar Tomcat was betting on the race, making bets with money. How shocking. So they heard from a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend that this Tomcat is making bets on the races. Now when you hear from a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend, that telephone game, as we both know, Karina, because we've played that game, doesn't come out the right way. It was the day before the fair and the exhibits were arriving. The tents were up and already there, with the small friends of potatoes and hot dogs mixed with the brisk autumn air and the scent of astrax. Everyone was excited, but Caleb was the most excited of all. He felt sure Josephine could win, but would she? The suspense was tantalizing. Was Josephine the goat going to win? She was in the perfect condition to win, so we'll find out. At last, it was the day of the fair. Mr. Bigby Brown was in town for the fathers give speeches. He fired off the cannon, for the last stood in front of the Civil War statue. Everyone cheered and waved flags. The Corgiville band struck up a spirited tune, and the fair was officially opened. There was a big tent where vegetables, fruit, preserves, flowers, and fancy work were shown. There was also a pottery shed, the goats and guinea pig barns, the ginger beer stands, and the peep shows, and the merry-go-round was a calipo and dashing wooden goats with floating beards. There were runaway pigs and lost puppies, and tabby cats selling cotton candy. There were bograts with patient medicine remedies and old corgis with trained fleas. It was wonderful. So let's see what's up here. There's the main tent and the goat barn and the pottery section, and there's tons of stuff, right? Caleb found it hard not to leave Josephine and visit the tempting exhibits. However, he remembered Merritt's words and warnings and remained faithfully by her stable door. He wondered what the rest of his family was doing. No doubt father would be looking for the farm machinery and talking cattle. Mother was probably comparing cakes and pies with Mrs. Rabbit and the church ladies. Katie would surely be with the Sunday school group of the fancy work section. Coral should be with her ground exhibit, but she wouldn't be. She would be at the ice cream stall with the cotton candy stand. And what would Merritt be doing? Probably sitting up the fireworks and working with the dreidels. It was hard waiting, especially with the lunchtime coming round. Caleb saw everyone going into the lunch tents. He smelled baked beans and apple pies, and he had eaten his own lunch before 10 o'clock, and now he felt plentifully hollow inside. At this very moment, who should Satin by but eager Tomcat, with some of delicious-looking hot dogs and biscuits. Edgar stopped and admired Josephine. Caleb was flattered. "I'm afraid you're going to give me some keen competition," said Edgar. "That's what I aim to do, sir," replied Caleb modestly. Edgar poured pleasantly. "You look hungry. Would you like a hot dog?" Caleb's mouth fairly watered. Edgar's feelings might be hurt if he refused, and besides, Edgar was being so sporting about Josephine. Caleb looked at the hot dog. Edgar continued to talk in a flattering, man-to-man tone, and Caleb felt pleased and important. But he also felt sleepy, and he'd rather wished Edgar would go away. In fact, he felt dizzy, and Edgar purring sounded like a motor in his ears. Or was it a motor? Caleb literally didn't know, for he had fallen sound asleep on the straw, and the hot dogs had contained a sulfuric powder. What is that? Edgar switched his tail mechanically and lifted, and the only reappeared a moment later with a box containing 13 heavy mice pies and 22 strong 5-cent cigars. Where Caleb slept, Edgar fed all these things to greedy Josephine, who gobbled. While Caleb slept, Edgar fed all these things to Josephine, who gobbled them up with pleasure. She was tired of diets. She got rounder and rounder, and at the 19th cigar she had already eaten the pies. She collapsed, groaning. Edgar Tomcat now left this deplorable scene, purring loudly and feeling very much pleased with himself. Already he had seemed to feel the jingle of his 100 silver dollar in his pocket. He was half an hour before race time. Oh no. See what the Tomcat did? He tricked him. Baby, people are like this sometimes in real life. If you trust and believe in people a lot, like Mama trusts and believes in people too much sometimes, but like some people are really good people, and just some people do try and trick you, like the Tomcat though. So, I don't know. The bell rang, and suddenly and brighting still Caleb slept and Josephine groaned. It was 15 minutes before race time. Oh, look at this. Everyone else is getting ready. There's the Tomcat. There's the Corgi on the ground. There's Josephine. She can't even move. The Browns were on the grandstand, watching and waiting. It was 10 minutes before the race time. Caleb woke up. Oh no, look at, there's Caleb. He woke up. Everyone else is waiting for him. Merritt Boggett was checking his pockets before leaving for the race when Caleb reached him, barking out an awful tale of what happened. Boggetts are resourceful. Merritt saw instantly that it was but the thing to do, grabbing an armful of rockets and jumping into his tin. Lizzie was Caleb's behind him and roared to the goat stables. It was 5 minutes before race time. They got Josephine to her feet, then while Caleb saddled and bridled her, Merritt ripped open the rockets with the lightning speed and fed her as many as she would eat. The results were spectacular. Caleb barely had time to leap into the saddle when, with a fairy snort, Josephine tore out of the stable and towards the race gate. She arrived just in the nick of time. Bang! When the starting gun, they were off. Oh no, look at that. She raced over. Look at, there he is. There's the Corgi and Josephine. The spectators cheered. Dust flew. The soda pop baguette dropped his basket, and all the pop exploded. Edgar Tomcat gnashed his teeth as Josephine passed Red Pepper in a cloud of dust and flying pebbles. Caleb cringed his very life. Merritt twirled his tail and gave off sparks. The cheers turned to shouts, the shouts to yells. The grandstand took with a steeping paw. Josephine passed the finish line 5 ghost lengths ahead, breaking all previous records in the memory of Corgiville's oldest inhabitants. Maybe she needed some food. She was starving. He was starving her, and then he expected her to run. Maybe she just needed some food. Maybe that tomcat did the goat some good. The band broke into a hail. The conquering hero came, and Caleb and Josephine were led to the platform to receive the enormous cup piled high with 100 newly minted silver dollars. A wreath of roses was placed around Josephine's neck. Yes, she managed to eat some, and 2 handsome satin rivets were attached to her horns. Those she ate later. It was a great day for the Browns. The gun was fired again, and the spectators sat back in their seats. It was now time for the grand parade, which Caleb and Josephine properly headed. They were followed by Mrs. Corgiville of the Year, holding the trophy that they had won. Turn the page and you'll see how the whole parade looked. So there he is. Look at him. He's so proud. There's Corgiville. The Corgiville Fair. After the parade, Josephine was taken to her stall, where I'm sorry to say that she finished off her wreath, and the 2 russets were wire inside included. As far as Caleb and his family, all of Corgiville had a marvelous time. They were thrilled to merit Dreadvilles, who had never put on a more hair-raising show. Numbers of the ribbons fainted. They did up the pie-eating contest, the turkey shout, and the midway. There's the pie-eating contest on the top. We're all sitting at the table, eating the pies. It says, "Come one, come all, pie-eating contest." Then there's a cheese hop, the florist peddlers. They had a big square dance, and Mrs. Corgiville led off to the Virginia reel, and Caleb much of his embarrassment and pleasure. Evening found everyone hungry again, and so they ate supper and waited until it was dark enough for the great final merit fireworks. There's some dancing. Such fireworks, they were the brightest and the noisiest and the most dangerous, all kinds one never sees anymore. The raucous display seemed to be a short bit, and the only merit that the Caleb knew why. The biggest bang came last, with a shower of red, white, and blue in stars. In their midst was 20-foot American flag done by Catherine's wheels and supercharged torpedoes that were band played Goodnight Ladies, and everyone went home feeling there was just nothing, absolutely nothing so glorious as the Corgiville Fair. In case you would care to know, Kara and Katie each won prizes too. Josephine never ran another race. She couldn't. She stuffed from the chronic ingestion from that time on. Edgar Tomcat left town and nobody missed him. P.S. Caleb gave Merritt $50 to make needed improvements on the firework factory, and other $50 he kept put in the bank to go towards college. Aw. Nice. A unicycle. Alright, let's see what this one's about. The Polar Express. The Polar Express. On Christmas Eve many years ago, I lay quietly in my bed. I did not rustle the sheets. I breathed slowly and silently. I was listening for the sound, a sound of a friend who told me I'd never hear, the ringing bells of Santa's sleigh. This is not Santa, my friend. And he insisted, but he knew he was wrong. Late the night, I hear a sound, though nothing of a ringing bells. From outside came the sound of hissing, streams, and squawking metal. I thought my window, and I looked through my window and saw a train standing perfectly still in front of my house. It was wrapped in an apron of steam. Snowflakes fell lightly around it. A conductor stood at the open door of one of the open cars. He took a large pocket watch from his vest. Then he looked up at my window. I put on my slippers and robe. I tiptoed downstairs and out the door. "All aboard!" the conductor called out. I ran up to him. "Well," he said, "are you coming?" "Where?" I asked. "Why, to the North Pole, of course," was his answer. "This is the Polar Express." I looked at his outstretched hand, and he pulled me aboard. Look at the train in the dark. The train was filled with other children, and in the pajamas and nightgowns. We sang Christmas carols and ate candies with nougat centers as white as snow. We drank hot cocoa and as thick and as rich as melted chocolate bars. Outside, the light of the towns and the villages flaked in the distance as the Polar Express raced northward. Soon there was no more lights to be seen. We traveled through the cold, the dark, the forest, where lean wolves roamed and white-tailed rabbits hid from the train as it thundered through the quiet wilderness. See the wolf? And the train in the background. We climbed mountains so high it seemed as if we would scrape the moon, but the Polar Express never slowed down. Faster and faster we ran along, rolling over the peaks and through the valleys like a car on a roller coaster. There it goes. The mountains turned into hills and the hills to snow-covered plains. We crossed a barren desert of ice. The Polar Express ice cap. Lights appeared in the distance. They looked like the lights of a strange ocean liner sailing on a frozen sea. There, said the conductor, is the North Pole. See the lights? The North Pole was a huge city standing alone on the top of the world, filled with factories where every Christmas toy was made. At first, we saw no elves. They are gathering at the center of the city. The conductor told us that is where Santa will give the first gift of Christmas. Who receives the first gift? We all asked. The conductor answered, he will choose one of you. Oh. Look, shouted one of the children, the elves outside. We saw hundreds of elves as our train drew closer to the center of the North Pole. We slowed to a crawl. So crowded were the streets with Santa's helpers. When the Polar Express could go no further, we spotted the conductor let us outside. We passed through the crowd of the edge of a large open circle. In front of us stood Santa's sleigh. The reindeer were excited. They pranced and placed a ringing of the silver sleigh bells that hung from the harnesses. It was a magical sound like nothing I've ever heard. Across the circle, elves moved apart to Santa Claus's appeared. The elves cheered wildly. He marched over to us and pointing to me said, let's have the fellow here. He jumped onto the sleigh. The conductor handed me up. I sat on Santa's knee and he asked, now what would you like for Christmas? You see Santa? I know that I could have any gift I could imagine, but the thing I wanted more for Christmas was not inside Santa's giant bag. What I wanted more than anything was the silver bells from Santa's sleigh. When I asked, Santa smiled. Then he gave me a hug and told the elves to cut the bells from the reindeer's harnesses. The elves tossed it up to Santa. He stood holding the bells high over his head and calling out, the first gift of Christmas. He got Santa's sleigh bells. A clock struck midnight as the elves whirred. There appeared Santa's handing the bells to me, and I put in the bathrobe pocket. The conductor helped me down from the sleigh. Santa shouted out the reindeer's names and cracked his whip. His team charged forward and climbed into the air. Santa circled once above us and disappeared into the cold, dark polar sky. Oh. As soon as we were back inside the Polar Express, the other children asked to see the bells. I reached into my pocket, but the only thing I felt was a hole. I had lost the silver bells from Santa Claus' sleigh. Let's hurry outside and look for it, one of the children said, but the train gave a sudden leap and started moving. We were on our way home. Oh, he lost his bells. It broke my heart to lose the bell. When the train reached my house, I suddenly left the other children. I stood at the doorway and waved goodbye. The conductor said something from the moving train, but I couldn't hear him. What? I yelled out. He cupped his hands around his mouth. Merry Christmas. he shouted. The Pole Express let out a large blast from the whistles and sped away. There he is saying goodbye. He lost his bells. On Christmas morning, my little sister Sarah and I opened our presents, but it looked as if everything had been unwrapped. Sarah found one of the small boxes behind the tree. It had my name on it. Inside was the silver bell. There was a note. Found this on the seat of my sleigh. Fix the hole in your pocket, sighed Mr. C. I shook the bell. It made the most beautiful sound my sister and I have ever heard. But my mother said, "Oh, that's too bad." "Yes," said my father, "it's broken." When I'd shake the bell, my parents had not heard a sound. At that time, most of my friends could hear the bell, but as years passed, it fell silent for all of them. Even Sarah found one Christmas that she could no longer hear its sweet sound. Though I've grown old, the bell still rings for me, and it does for all those who believe. Oh, that's so very sweet. Alright, Karina baby, Mama loves you. Mama loves you so much. You know that song, Silver Bells? Silver bells, silver bells, it's Christmas time in the city. Ring-a-ling, hear them sing. Soon it will be Christmas Day. City sidewalks, dressed in holiday smells, and on every street corner you'll hear silver bells, silver bells. It's Christmas time in the cities. Ring-a-ling, hear them sing. Soon it will be Christmas Day. Alright, Karina baby, Mama loves you and Mama misses you. Mama misses you oh so very, very much. I'm sorry about everything. I really am. You know, doesn't matter. Just know that Mama loves you. Mama loves you so, so very much, and Papa loves you too. But I'm sorry. I'm really, 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 really sorry. Mama was trying to make the best choice for you at the time that I thought was best. So, Mama tried to protect you by trying to protect Papa, and Mama didn't realize what was happening until it was way too late. I didn't know. I'm sorry. I didn't know. People make mistakes sometimes by believing in other people that they think they should. I'm just sorry about that. I'm just sorry. The only thing you have to know is how much I love you. Like Mama always says. You know, Papa always used to say Mama was his sun. Mama always used to say Papa was her moon. And you are our rainbow baby. And you are just so, 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 so loved. You are so loved, Karina. No matter what, Mama is alive, and Mama does love you, and Mama will see you eventually, okay? This whole virus thing shut down the entire world. Mama's just trying to get to you. Mama's just trying to get back to you. Mama just loves you, baby. I just love you so very, 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 very much. I just love, 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 love you. That's all you have to know. Is that I love you, and that I miss you, and that I can't wait to see you. I love you.